Put the phone down. Not because I'm going to tell you something you don't want to hear, because I'm going to tell you something that is going to completely change what you do next. And what you do next matters more than anything else right now, more than you realize, more than the part of you that has been staring at their contact name for the last hour, thumb hovering, composing and deleting and recomposing the message that never quite says the right thing more than that part of you wants to admit. Do not send that message. Not because reaching out is wrong, not because wanting to reach out makes you weak or desperate or any of the things the voice in your head has probably already called you for even considering it, but because the message you're about to send, however carefully worded, however perfectly timed, however much thought you've put into every syllable of it, is not the move that brings them back. And I can see in the energy that is moving around you and around this person right now exactly what the move is, and it is not that text. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you in these cards is going to make the phone irrelevant. Subscribe to this channel if you're not already here, and drop the word stillness in the comments right now. Because stillness, the particular intentional, enormously powerful stillness that I'm about to describe, is the most magnetic thing you can offer this person right now. And magnetism is what brings people back, not messages, not explanations, not the carefully constructed reaching out that is really reaching out and hoping they can't tell. Stillness. Here is what I know about the moment you're in right now, Virgo. I know it because I feel it in your energy, and I see it confirmed in every card that came forward today. You are in the particular anguish of someone who has something to say and no clear path to saying it. Someone who has been carrying a feeling or a question or an unresolved thing or simply the weight of missing someone for long enough that the carrying has become its own kind of exhausting. And the text message represents relief, not because it will necessarily produce the outcome you want, but because sending it would feel like doing something, like moving, like releasing some of the pressure that has been building in the silence. I understand that impulse completely, and I am asking you to resist it, not forever, not as a permanent strategy of withholding for right now. For this specific window of time that the cards are showing me, in which the energy between you and this person is doing something that your text message would interrupt rather than accelerate. Let me explain what I mean by that, because this is the core of everything this reading is trying to tell you. There is movement happening on their side right now. Real movement, interior movement, the kind that happens beneath the surface of a person's daily life, underneath the ordinary going and doing and presenting of themselves to the world. Something is shifting in how they think about you, in how they experience your absence, in what they understand about what you meant to them and what the silence has actually cost them. And that shifting is fragile in the specific way that all internal processes are fragile. It needs space to complete itself. It needs the uninterrupted quiet of its own momentum to reach the conclusion it is moving toward. Your text message would interrupt that momentum. Not because hearing from you would be unwelcome, that is not what the cards are showing me, but because it would give them somewhere to put the feeling before the feeling has fully formed into something they have to act on. It would create a release valve, a way to respond that is less than what the feeling, if left to develop fully, would eventually require of them, a way to be in contact with you that is not the same as the contact they are building toward on their own. The silence, as uncomfortable as it is for you right now, is doing work. Let it finish the work. I want to tell you what is happening inside this person right now. Because understanding their interior experience is going to make it much easier to trust the instruction I'm giving you, and trust is going to be essential for the next part of this. They are thinking about you um, with a frequency and a specificity that would genuinely surprise you if you could see it, not in the vague background, I wonder how they're doing way that people think about people who used to be in their lives. In the particular recurring, I cannot seem to stop this way of someone whose mind keeps returning to the same subject regardless of how much they try to redirect it. You surface in their thoughts in quiet moments and in busy ones, prompted by things that have nothing obviously to do with you and by things that have everything to do with you. You have taken up residence in their mental landscape in a way they did not invite and cannot seem to evict. And what I'm seeing specifically about the content of those thoughts, what keeps coming up for them when you surface, is not what you might expect. It is not regret exactly, though regret is present. It is not missing you exactly, though that is present too. What keeps coming up with an insistence that has been growing rather than fading is the specific awareness of what you are. Not what you were to them in a nostalgic sense, what you actually are, your particular qualities, the specific way you move through the world, the things about you that are genuinely rare and that they have been failing to find replicated anywhere else in their life since you've been absent from it. They are becoming aware in real time of your value, not in an abstract way, in the concrete, daily, I keep noticing the absence of this way that is far more persuasive than any abstract understanding could ever be. This awareness is building toward something, an action, a reaching, a moment where the internal experience of missing you and recognizing your value becomes impossible to continue experiencing privately without doing something about it externally. That moment is close. Your text message arriving now would interrupt the trajectory toward it, would give them an easier option than the full honest reaching they are building toward on their own. Let them build toward it. Let them arrive at you on their own momentum. Because what arrives under its own momentum, without being prompted by your reaching first, carries a completely different weight. It means something different. It tells you something different about where they are and what they've decided and how much of themselves they are prepared to bring. Now I want to talk about what you do instead, because do not send the text is an instruction that only makes sense if it comes with something to replace it. And the replacement is not nothing. It is something very specific and very intentional, and in some ways more active than sending the message would be. The first thing you do is tend to your own energy. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is strategy rooted in how human beings actually respond to each other energetically. You know the difference between the version of yourself that is contracted around a loss, quietly desperate, going through the motions of your life while the background program of this situation runs constantly underneath everything. And the version of yourself that is expanded, genuinely present, fully inhabiting your own life with the particular magnetic quality of someone who is completely, authentically themselves, those two versions of you produce completely different effects on the people around you, including people who are not currently in your immediate vicinity, including people who you haven't spoken to recently. The energetic reality of who you are in any given moment travels further than you realize. It influences how people think about you when you're not present. It affects whether you surface in someone's thoughts as an absence they are comfortable with or as an absence they can no longer tolerate. Right now, the most powerful thing you can do for this situation is to genuinely, authentically, not as a strategy, inhabit your own life fully. Not to make them jealous, not as a manipulation, but because you deserve to be fully in your own life, regardless of what happens with this person, and because the version of you that is fully in your own life is the version that is completely irresistible to someone who has been trying to talk themselves out of wanting you. The second thing you do is release the outcome. And I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like the thing people say when they don't have anything more useful to offer. But what I mean by it is specific: release the grip. The tight, anxious, constant monitoring of the situation that is currently taking up enormous amounts of your internal bandwidth and producing nothing but exhaustion. The checking, the analyzing, the replaying of conversations, and the imagining of scenarios, and the wondering if they're thinking about you, and the hoping and the bracing simultaneously against hope and disappointment. That grip is not helping. It is actually energetically creating a kind of pressure that people on the other end of a connection can feel. A subtle urgency, a neediness in the field that often produces the opposite of the intended effect, making the other person feel the pressure and instinctively create more distance in response. Release it, not by not caring you care, and you are allowed to care, but by deciding genuinely and repeatedly that you trust this situation to move toward its right conclusion without you having to force it, that you trust yourself to be okay in any outcome, that your well being is not contingent on what this person does next. That release, real release, not performed release, changes the energy of the entire situation. It creates space, and space is what allows something that has been compressed and stuck and unable to move to finally move. The third thing, and this one is the most important and the most Virgo relevant because it speaks directly to the way you are wired. Stop making this person the project. Virgo has an extraordinary capacity for analysis, for going deep on a subject, turning it over, examining every angle, understanding it from every possible perspective. It is one of your greatest gifts in every domain where it is applied to something that can actually be solved through analysis. This situation is not one of those things. This person's feelings, their choices, their timeline, the question of whether and when they come back, none of that is available to be solved through analysis. And yet, some portion of your mental energy, probably a significant portion, has been dedicated to analyzing it anyway, trying to understand it fully enough that you could predict it, control it, know how it's going to go before it goes there. That analysis is not protecting you, it is exhausting you. and it is keeping your attention focused on them and on this situation rather than on your own life, your own growth, your own becoming, which is precisely where your attention most needs to be right now. Make yourself the project, not as a distraction technique, as a genuine prioritization. The things you've been meaning to do, the version of yourself you've been moving toward, the life you want that extends beyond this connection and that deserves your full attention, regardless of whether this person is in it. When you become genuinely invested in your own forward motion, when you are actually authentically absorbed in your own becoming rather than in the monitoring of someone else's choices, something happens. You become more interesting, more alive, more fully yourself. And that version of you, the one who is completely present in her own life, is exponentially more magnetic than the one who is waiting. They will feel the difference, even across the silence, even across the distance. The shift in your energy will reach them, and it will accelerate exactly what is already in motion on their side. Let me tell you what I see coming when you hold this. When you put the phone down and tend to your own energy and release the grip and make yourself genuinely the center of your own attention, let me tell you what the cards are showing me on the other side of that choice. I see them reaching, not in response to your text on their own, arriving at the decision to contact you through their own internal process, under their own momentum, with the specific quality of intention that only comes when someone has chosen something fully rather than responded to an opening that was handed to them. The difference between those two things, between someone who reaches because you reached first and someone who reaches because they arrived at the decision entirely on their own, is enormous. It determines the quality of what follows. It tells you with complete clarity where they are and what they want and whether what they're bringing is real. What they are going to bring is real. These cards are showing me something genuine and something that has been shaped by the specific journey of this separation into something more honest, more self aware, more ready for what an actual connection with you requires than what existed before. I see a conversation that goes somewhere, not the kind that circles the edges of what's real and stays carefully in the safe territory of catching up and how have you been, the kind that goes somewhere, that lands somewhere actual, that produces a new understanding between you about where things stand and what both of you want, and whether there is something here worth building on differently than before. I see your peace. That is perhaps what strikes me most clearly when I look at the cards beyond the return. Your peace. The specific quality of someone who has handled a difficult period of uncertainty with grace and self respect and genuine investment in their own well being, and who receives what comes next from a place of wholeness rather than a place of need. That wholeness changes everything about how this unfolds. It puts you on equal ground. It ensures that whatever is built from this point is built between two people who are choosing each other freely rather than one person who was waiting and one person who arrived. Here is what I want to leave you with as we close this. One thing, simple and real and completely actionable right now in this moment before you put this video on and go back to your day. Trust yourself enough to wait. Not passive waiting, active, intentional, self invested waiting. The kind where you are genuinely living your life rather than holding it in suspension pending an outcome. The kind where you wake up tomorrow and your first thought is not about them, but about what you're building and who you're becoming and what today holds for you specifically. The kind where the text never gets sent, not because you're playing a game, but because you genuinely found something more interesting to put your attention toward. That version of waiting is not giving up, it is not indifference, it is not accepting that this is over. It is the most powerful thing you can do right now in a situation where the most powerful thing is also the most difficult thing. Trusting that what is real will find its way to you without you having to chase it down. What is real between you and this person is finding its way to you right now. It is moving toward you at its own pace, along its own path, and it will arrive exactly when it is supposed to arrive and not a moment before. Don't interrupt the journey. Don't shortcut the arrival. Put the phone down. Go live your life. They're already on their way. Tell me in the comments, was the phone already in your hand? Were you already composing the message? Drop stillness if this reading stopped you in time. Tell me how long the silence has been. Tell me if something in what I described today matched something you've been feeling without being able to name it. Because the fact that you found this video today, that out of everything you could have been watching in this moment, this is where you landed, is not an accident. Neither is what's coming. Hold steady, Virgo. I'll see you in the next one.